Welcome to my morning practice. Let's come to the top of your mat in Tadasana. Take a few moments just to connect with your breath here as you ground down through the feet. And then begin to connect with your Ujjayi breath as you inhale, reach up to the sky. And as you exhale, arms come back down into your heart center. We'll continue with this breath, with Ujjayi breath, perhaps adding a pause at the top of your inhale and at the bottom of your exhale, building prana with breath retention. And keep moving with your breath, but try to bring your breath into samavriti, which is equal breath. So if you're inhaling to 6, try to exhale to 6. And your pauses could also be 6 or less. And keep moving with this style of Ujjayi breath in your mountain pose for a few more rounds, and then we exhale and fold forward Uttanasana. Inhale, lift the heart, lengthen the spine, and exhale, step the right foot back into lunge. So we're going to start by just rocking back and forth, opening up the energy points in the sole of the foot. Waking up the toes, the arches, and then use your next exhale to come into reverse lunge, lifting the toes on that front foot. You can use your blocks under your hands here. That helps facilitate this movement for you. And just moving forward and back and lunge and reverse lunge with your breath. The exhale takes you to reverse lunge. The inhale brings you back to your start. We have a little visitor for our yoga practice here today. Beecher has joined. Keep moving in and out of your reverse lunge and forward lunge. It's beginning to wake up the hips, the thighs, the sacrum, the low back. And then let's turn both toes to the long side of your mat for side lunges. So bending into the right knee. And then exhaling, bending into the left. And moving your hands from side to side along with you. Well, this is helping I find this gets into my stiff low back and sacrum as well as the back of the hips. And then rotate back to the top of your mat. And then we make a transition to awkward lunge. So turning both toes towards the left side of the mat now. Coming to the outside blade of the back foot. And then we move in and out with our breath as we exhale, let the hips sink. And as you inhale, reach overhead and lift high, lift the hips high. Exhale, let the hips sink. So this gets into the side body, the side hips. We do this 3 times. Keep moving with your breath. And then bring that hand down, come back to the top of your mat to your lunge and step back, downward facing dog. You can walk your dog out here a little bit if you wish. Rise up on your toes. Sway your hips from side to side, whatever feels right. And then dropping your knees. We're going to come into tabletop and move in and out of cat-cow with your breath. Again, mobilizing that spine and maybe some stiffness in the low back, the low hips. Even the sacrum. And moving with your breath. Again, staying connected with that Ujjayi breath through this whole practice is essential. And then in the next exhale, sinking back into child's pose. You can rock your hips from side to side here as well. And you can come up onto the fingertips, lifting forearms up off the mat and stretch into the side body a little bit more. And your next inhale, rise up and find your way into downward facing dog. My little helper is not being very helpful right now. Step your right foot forward. So now we're coming into our lunge on our second side. So start with the rocking action, getting into mobility of the foot and ankle, and use your exhale to move into reverse lunge. The inhale brings you back into your starting point lunge. And moving with your own breath, using blocks here if you wish. if that facilitates your practice to make it less strained. And then rotating your feet to the long side of your mat once again, turning to the left side for side lunges on this side. So again, bending as deeply or not as deeply as your body feels, particularly if you're doing this first thing in the morning as I do. And then rotate back to the top of your mat, swiveling the feet to the right side of your mat for awkward lunge. And again, the exhale, sink the hips low. The inhale, lift the hips high. And let the arm movement, the circular arm movement overhead, guide that action. Exhale, we soften down. Inhale, we lift high. Circle around and step back into downward facing dog. Drop down to your knees. And let's just do a couple of rounds of cat-cow again. Again, really just looking at mobilizing the spine here. And releasing stiffness and rigidity. Moving with your breath back into child's pose on the exhale. An option to have your palms down or coming up to your fingertips once again, lifting the forearms up off the floor. And again, option, swivel your hips from side to side. Staying connected with your ujjayi breath, even here in child's pose. And on your inhale, rise up, coming into tabletop. And then lowering down, knees, chin, chest, drawing the heart forward for cobra pose, lengthening the legs back. And then holding here for a few breaths, releasing down. And then option to intertwine your fingers behind your back as you lift up. Pubic bone is ground down into the floor, lengthening the legs so much that the feet may come up off the floor. The shins come up off the floor. Staying here for 3 breaths. Each inhale perhaps lifting a little bit higher, and a possible inhale retention. Use your exhale to lower down, rest your forehead down on the floor. And then option to take bow pose for a second round of back bend. You can also do a second round of salabhasana that we just finished, or any variation back bend that you wish to have right now at this point in our 30-minute class. Release down out of whichever back bend you've chosen. And let's find our way back into child's pose, releasing any tension in the back, in the spine, in the hips, sacrum, low back, upper back. Just taking a couple breaths here. And then on your inhale, find your way up to tabletop and exhale into downward facing dog. Take a couple breaths here in your down dog or dolphin, and then float the left leg to the sky in 3-legged dog. Reach it high, stay for a breath or 2, and exhale, step it up between your hands. And we're moving into a crescent moon. So staying high up on your back toes to start with. Reach your right arm forward. And then open into a variation of side angle. And you might have that left hand up on a block here. You might reach the top arm to the sky or overhead. And then release down. We're not holding this one real long. And then extend left arm. Right hand is on the floor. And we open into our twist to the left side. The back foot is up on the toes once again. Step back into downward facing dog. Take a breath. And let's inhale, right leg to the sky, 3-legged dog. As you exhale, draw the knee in and step the right foot forward. Pivot the back heel down and right hand grounded on a block or the ground. Left hand either reaches to the sky or overhead into variation of side angle. Take a nice big inhale, lengthen the side body, release left hand down, pivot onto the back toes, reach right hand forward. Inhale, twist towards your right side, reaching up to the sky. Exhale, hands come down, step back, downward facing dog. Dropping down to your knees. And exhaling, knees, chin, chest, rising up in your back bend, either cobra or upward facing dog. Opening the front body, stay for a breath or two before exhaling back to downward facing dog. On an exhale, step to the top of your mat. Inhale, lengthen the heart forward. Exhale, bow down. Inhale, rise up, press into the floor and reach to the sky. Invite a back bend and draw into your heart center. Take a moment's pause in mountain pose. And then inhaling, reaching up to the sky. And as you exhale, release your hands to your sacrum and inhale, back bend. Pressing down into the feet and exhaling, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen the heart forward, stepping the right foot back. This time staying up on the back toes as we rise into crescent moon. Bring just the fingertips to touch with space between your palms. Lift the gaze, maybe bend the back knee if you wish, if you need to keep the pelvis upright. Draw the front ribs in, lengthen up, lift your gaze. Exhale, hands through heart center, lean forward into runner's lunge. Pause here for a breath, and then the exhale, twisting to your left, catching the elbow on the outside of that left knee. Hands can be at heart center, or you can have right forearm onto the knee and left hand to your hip. Release out of the twist. Bring the hands down to the floor. Shift your back heel down and rise up for warrior one. Take the same mudra with the hands, bringing all 5 fingertips to touch each other. And use the exhale to draw the elbows down into cactus arms. 3 breaths like this. Inhaling, we reach up. Exhaling, draw down and back, opening the heart center. Bring the forearms and the palms together and open up for warrior two. Spread the arms wide, look over your front fingers, and press down strongly into both feet. Inhale into peaceful warrior, make space in the left side body, and exhale, side angle, reach overhead. Draw the ears, the back of the skull, and the upper back back. Inhale, peaceful warrior, we rise back up once again. Exhale, side angle. Draw it back, open the front body. Inhale, reach up, reverse triangle, front leg straight. And exhale, reach that left arm, left side body as long as you can get it. Stay there and just release that arm down wherever it lands. Don't try to go deep. Reach the top arm up. And then we little pulses with Kapalabhati breath here. So inhaling, just coming up an inch or two, exhale, forceful exhale. Come all the way back up. Turn both toes to the long side of your mat. Intertwine your fingers behind your back for Prasarita Padottanasana, wide-legged forward fold. Opening the heart center, releasing through the hamstrings, through the upper back, low back. Nice breath here, neck is free. Leading with your heart, come all the way back up. Take a moment's pause, just noticing the effects of your practice thus far. And then turn your left toes back to the top of the mat. Hands come down, step back, downward facing dog. As my assistant returns, we're preparing to move to second side. The right foot steps forward and we rise up, crescent moon, fingertips to touch, palms away from one another like you're cupping a ball between your hands. Bend the back knee, lift the hip points a little higher, draw the front ribs in. Invite more back bend. One more breath. Exhale, hands through heart center. Lean the torso forward over the front thigh, runner's lunge, and exhale, twist towards your right side. You can bring the top fist to press into the palm, or Anjali Mudra with palms together at heart center. Exhale, release the hands down, and this time we pivot the back foot down for warrior one. Inhale, rising up, reaching to the sky. Fingertips to touch, palms open to receive. Exhale, cactus arms. Inhale, lengthen up, reach up. Exhale, bend the elbows, cactus arms. 3 breaths like that. And then on the third breath, we draw forearms and palms together and open into warrior two. Extending your stance a little wider. And then inhale, peaceful warrior. So we're moving quite quickly through this phase with breath. Exhale, side angle. Inhale, peaceful warrior. We're working with side body in these variations. Exhale, side angle. Again, remembering as we inhale, coming up into reverse triangle, keep the side body long on that right hand side. Maybe shorten your stance a little bit. And when the side body is as long as you can get it, just release that right hand down wherever it lands. And now we add this Kapalabhati pulsing. We inhale, just rising up an inch or two, and exhale, pulse down. Inhale, rise all the way up. Turn both toes to the long side of your mat. Feet parallel, hands to your sacrum. Inhale, back bend. Lift the heart to the sky. Exhale, fold forward, hands come down. Grasping whatever is available to you. It might be your ankles, might be calves, or might be peace fingers wrapped around your big toes. And just breathe here, releasing your neck so that skull can drop towards the earth. Tiny micro bend in the back of your knees. And inhale, lift the torso, halfway lift. Hands to the hips, rise all the way up. Turn your right toes to the top of your mat. And step back, downward facing dog. Let's come forward to plank with an inhale. Use your exhale to lower, knees, chin, chest, or chaturanga if that's in your practice. Rise up to cobra or upward facing dog. And exhale back to downward facing dog. I didn't really have a choice in my vinyasa since I had a puppy at the top of my mat. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, step forward with your left foot. You might use your blocks here as we open up into half moon pose. So if you're using a block, left hand would be on your block, and we're balancing on the left foot. Right hand is reaching to the sky. Right leg is reaching to the sky. Release both hands down. Square the hips by drawing knee to your nose. Pause here. And then we're moving into something I call flying dragon. Bending your standing knee deeply. Extend your right leg straight out behind you. Hands can be on your blocks here as you extend the heart forward, keeping the standing leg bent. Or you might bring hands to heart center here. Exhale, release floating leg back, step back, downward facing dog. Let's get ready for half moon on second side. Again, using your blocks if you need. Right foot steps forward. We float the left leg up to into the sky, rolling the hips open. Right hand touches your block or the floor. Left hand can be along your thigh, on your hip, or reaching up to the sky in your half moon pose. Finding extension, suspension, and expansion in this pose in all directions. Left hand comes to your block or to the floor. Draw that floating leg, knee to your nose, squaring the hips, and now we move into flying dragon. Bend the standing leg deeply. Hands can be on your block, or you might play with bringing hands to your heart center in Anjali Mudra, palms together. Extending through the heart, lengthening through the spine and the crown. If you lose your balance, just touch your fingertips to your blocks. Keep extending, reaching, lifting the heart, and then go ahead, release down, step back, downward facing dog. You can move your blocks out of the way if you wish. And then you can either come to child's pose or let's flow, coming to plank, rocking back and forth a few times, and then lowering knees, chin, chest, or chaturanga, drawing the heart forward, lengthening the legs, coming into cobra, or releasing the arms like wings out to the side, turning your thumbs up to the sky, letting the legs float up, and then release down. Rock the hips from side to side. Option to move into bow pose next, or half bow, or second round of salabhasana that we just finished. If you're in bow, grabbing the ankles, lift up, lift, opening the heart as you kick the feet away from your head, lifting the thighs. One more breath, and release down. Hands under your forehead. You can rock your hips from side to side. Let's take a couple breaths into the belly here, using the pressure of the belly into the floor to fill the low back, and then pressing up and back, child's pose. You can have arms extended or alongside your shins. Taking a few breaths here, releasing any tension in the back. And then let's find our way up to tabletop and back into downward facing dog, curling the toes under, sending the hips up. Float that right leg to the sky, three-legged dog, and we're moving into pigeon pose. So drawing that shin forward, and we start with upright pigeon. You might have blocks here as we lift the spine high and extend the back leg back behind us. So we're getting into the right side hip and also the hip flexor on the left side. And keep lifting your heart so you're not compressing the low back, but you're lengthening the spine. And then go ahead and release, keeping the spine long, moving into sleeping pigeon. Finding a place for the forehead to rest. We're not staying here really long, but you can rest forehead on a block, stacked fists, or your mat. And just breathe into any of the spaces where you're feeling tension. And then a variation, you can stay where you are or try one of these two variations with the right forearm down, bending the back leg and reaching left hand to left ankle. Or do opposite, left forearm down and reaching right hand opposite arm to your back ankle. This is the variation that I prefer. There's a little bit of a twist as well as opening in the front body. And this particular one is the one that feels best for me, but you choose what works for your body. And then we slowly move back into downward facing dog, preparing for second side. So left leg floats to the sky this time. And as we exhale, pigeon pose, the shin draws forward, walk the back leg back, and lengthen the spine up, hands on blocks or the floor, or even on your tippy fingers. And being mindful that you're lengthening the spine, not compressing into the low back. Opening the front body. And as you exhale, making your way into sleeping pigeon, be sure to keep the spine long. Don't lose the extension and length you created in the spine in your upright pigeon. Again, finding space with the breath wherever you may have tightness. Stay connected to your ujjayi breath, even though this may feel like a resting pose. And then we begin to move into our two variations. Left forearm down is the right arm. Same arm reaches to the back foot with the back knee bent. Or my favorite, the right arm down and opposite arm reaches to the back foot for a little bit of a twist with a front body opening. And my little buddy is back to hold down the front of my mat for me. Release down, and we're making our way back into downward facing dog here. Inhale, come forward to plank. Exhale, lower down, however you wish. Inhale, back bend of your choice. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now we're coming down to a seat for a seated twist. So in the variation I'm doing, I have my left leg bent underneath me, right knee pointing up and bent, and wrapping left arm around that top knee. So we're twisting towards the right side. So right knee is bent, pointing up to the sky, and we're twisting right. Right hand is out behind, left arm is around that front knee. Unwind into the opposite direction for one breath. And then moving into Gomukhasana. Now you can have that bottom leg straight out in front of you for half Gomukhasana. If you're in the variation that I'm showing, you can press into your arches here. And then also option to reach that left arm to the sky. Rotate your arm so the little finger rotates back. And then attempting to join both arms. If they don't touch, if your fingertips don't touch, that's okay. And also option to fold forward here. And you can also release your hands, fingertips to the floor, elbows bent. And whatever variation is working for you. And then leaning back, unravel your legs, reach both legs to the sky, wide apart, and then switch. So now the right leg is underneath. That right leg can also be straight out in front of you. And right arm wraps around the left bent knee. Left hand behind you. We're twisting to the left. If you need, you could have that back hand on a block as well. So the more you draw in on that top leg, the more release you're going to feel in that hip. And then unwinding, twisting to the opposite side just for one exhale. Come back to center. And then Gomukhasana or cow face option. Shifting the knees so they stack over one another, or release that bottom leg straight out in front of you for half Gomukhasana. Inhale, reach right hand up, rotate the whole arm bone, and reach the bottom hand up. And lifting that top elbow, lengthening that side body, the armpit area, where all those lymph nodes are. And then you have option to fold forward here, keeping that grasp, or releasing your hands to the floor, fingertips, elbows bent. Or staying in the upright version if that's more appropriate for you. As we come up, we lean back, unravel the legs, inhale them wide, exhale together, and then lying down on your mat. Take a moment with both feet ground just to let the hips settle, the sacrum settle. And then extending the left leg straight. Draw the right knee into Apanasana. If it feels good, you can stay in stillness here, or you can rotate that knee, creating a rotation in the hip socket. This morning, I am keeping it still. And then extend that foot straight up to the sky. Hands come to the back of the thigh. Rotate the foot, rotating at the ankle. And then putting a strap over your foot, or some of you might even be able to grab your foot, but we're pressing that right thigh away from us and then opening out to the right. Your left hand can be on that left thigh, grounding that hip down. And then coming to center, if you've got a strap on your foot, switch to the other hand and come into a twist, extending that right leg over to the left side. You can rotate your gaze over to the opposite direction and your right arm extended. Come back to center, bending the knee, coming back into Apanasana where we started. Draw the left knee in, so both knees in. Rock from side to side if you wish before we move into second side. And so now extending the right leg down as we hold the left. So this is great for stimulating digestion, as well as any opening in the hip flexors, the side hips. And go ahead and extend that leg straight with your palms to the back of that left thigh and rotating the ankle. Now grabbing your strap as we open to the left, grounding that right hip down. Don't worry if your leg doesn't come to the floor, you can rest on a block. And then moving over to our opposite side, coming into a twist as the left leg moves over to the right side of our mat. Left arm extended. Coming back to center, we're not staying in any of these poses really long because this is our short practice. Draw both knees back in, rock from side to side. And then extending the arms wide as you allow the knees to drop over to the left. You can look to the right. That feels appropriate for your neck. Rock back to center. Again, wrapping your arms around, rocking side to side before we release over to the second side into your supine twist. Coming back to center. And then releasing the soles of the feet back down and pausing here once again, letting the hips settle. Feel the sacrum get heavy. And then moving into your final Shavasana, extending the legs straight, allowing the body to absorb all the effects of the practice in some stillness for the next few moments. Now feel welcome to stay in Shavasana for at least 5 to 7 minutes. And then from there, you might move into a meditation. So you might want to set a timer and move into one of our meditations before moving out to the rest of your day. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining our practice. And Beecher is going to come in to say hello and goodbye. And there he is, my little assistant.